r/ask Reddit. What profession was once highly respected, but is now a complete joke? President. Oof owie ouch. Some feared that Obama's presidency spelled disaster for the position. Instead, he brought leadership and dignity and a lasting mark on history. How quickly things change. Bank teller used to be a foot in the door to the finance industry. Now it's basically 20-year-old. Credit card salesman. Cross-sell. Teller referrals. Open the customer their third or fourth and need a checking account. As if that's going to bring more money to the bank and not spread out existing money. Reminds me of The Office where Michael tells girls at a bar that he's a bank teller because Ryan told him that girls like guys who work in finance. Town crier. Used to be a respected official who was the source of news and information for all the townspeople. But try walking up and down the street ringing a bell and shouting out the news at the top of your lungs now and see how much respect you get. Milkman. It used to be a way to earn an honest living. Now he's only used to convey other person's mom's promiscuity. They wanted that milk delivered right to the door. Only problem was, the guy delivering that milk ends up ducking your wife. I'm a milkman. Seriously, it pays decently, but is a tough job to get into and none of us actually get laid XD ask me anything. Bank managers were on the same tier as doctors and lawyers back in the day. Now they are sales team leaders pushing credit cards and cross-selling accounts to customers who don't need them. That's because it was one of the first high-status jobs to be automated away by computers. Back in the day, a bank manager was in charge of all the lending decisions for their branch. They decided who got a mortgage or a loan, and they had to be skilled at knowing their customers and assessing the credit worthiness of all of their regular customers. Then, we discovered credit scoring, and it turned out that one department of guys with computers at head office could write an application form that would find your good customers more accurately than all the subjective, face-to-face work in branches. So the bank manager role turned into what it is now. Night's Watch. Taking up the black used to be for men of honor. Now it's full of thieves, rapers, and murderers. The Night's Watch is the only thing standing between the realm and what lies beyond, and it has become an army of undisciplined boys and tired old men. There are less than 1,000 of us now. We can't man the other castles on the wall. We can't properly patrol the wilderness. We have barely enough resources to keep our lads armed and fed. A typist. In the 50s, if you could type, that was a real skill. And also a government worker in general. Back when government work wasn't used as a synonym for horseshoes and hand grenades. I'm only 35, but my first resume had my WPM and mentioned that I was computer literate. On-air radio personality, not a complete joke. But unless you're one of the syndicated giants, it's not nearly the job it once was. My wife's friend was an on-air radio personality. She was all over the place locally from 1998 to 2010. The vast majority of people aged 30-55 in my area know who she is. She got the boot after her station got bought out. Now she DJs weddings and has a ton of trouble making ends meet after a nasty divorce. It's a really weird situation. We go out to a bar with her and everyone runs up and wants to meet her and take pics. Then on our drive home, my wife is asking if the DJ could stay in our guest room for a few weeks. The girl is smart, but reliably monetizing local celebrity status is much harder than you think. And it's not like she was making bank even when she was in radio. Nigerian prince. Traveling salesman. They're mostly a problem now. A blacksmith. Way back I imagine it was the shit to be the guy with making all the weapons. Nowadays most people don't see the talent required and just see it as a weird hobby. Grand wizard. They're still respected in many parts of the South. IT support. They'll let just about anybody do that shit nowadays. If you're lucky enough to actually have a great team, they'll probably quickly move on to something else in the field. Alchemist. What? I'd give an arm and a leg to be an alchemist. Teaching isn't a complete joke yet, but it isn't what it was. There was a time when people respected teachers. They might be the only person in town with a degree. They made okay money and sometimes even got a rent-free residence to go with the school. They were respected and looked up to. Now degrees are much more commonplace, and many jobs pay better than teaching. Some people think teachers are underachievers. You have a degree in math or physics or chem, but you teach? Guess nobody wanted you. You must have been on the low end of the scale. Also, if you're making 100k or even 1000k or more, and some people do, it's hard not to look at someone earning 50k or even less and not think of them as a loser, especially if they also have a 100k study debt. I'm a teacher myself. I like teaching, especially kindy kids. Ironically, tell people you are a professor and you are seen as being on the cutting edge of your field, despite professors not making much more than teachers at the tenure level and much less at the adjunct level. Travel agent. My friend owns a travel agency and does pretty well. I'm always just like, how, why? Congressman. In Sweden, teaching and policing. Thank you for nothing. Deprofessionalization. I was always under the impression that the Scandinavian countries value teachers and educators. As a teacher here in the US, I know we sure don't. Definitely photographer. In the old days, if you wanted a picture taken, you went to a professional. In fact, an old picture of the downtown of my city has a giant sign for a photography business. Now, every mom owns a DSLR and is advertising her services on Pinterest. The standard portrait now is a blown out background with a Lightroom filter applied. Agree so much. Many years back I helped a friend out by photographing her wedding. A mutual friend of ours was all upset because she had not only a 300D with an 1855, but a photography business as well. It was so unfair that she didn't get to photograph the wedding. So we compromised and she helped me out when we were setting up for the reception and I was setting up my 2 external flashes. And she just sat there and said, I don't need an external flash as my camera has it built in. I'm a graphic designer, so I am going to say graphic design. I constantly work behind the curtain in the graphic field, and it's rife with incompetence. The problem arises because most employers are not familiar with graphic programs, can't ask in-depth questions about experience, and hire people based on portfolio faith. Knowing Photoshop is great, but it doesn't necessarily qualify you to work in my position. IT support. You used to be a wizard performing the arcane arts on these machines from the future. Now you're a janitor. Graphics designer. Used to be glamorous to come up with designs, create logos and do print work. Now it's competing with a possible client's cousin who has a copy of Photoshop. Fighting random internet strangers use your logo in their portfolio or having to constantly defend your pricing because someone feels you should be doing it for free. Ice delivery man. Full service gas station attendant. They would pump your gas, wash your windows, provide small talk, give directions. Then most of the country moved to self-service. Journalist. Of course, there are plenty of real journalists out there, but there are way more hucksters than before. I'd imagine the vast majority of people who identify as journalists are working for cable news or are professional bloggers. Steve Bannon types writing biased fake news for places like Breitbart. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.